In the heart of Ife, a village known for its rich lands and spirited people, there lived a girl named Ijeoma. She was as beautiful as the moonlight on the village river, with a beauty that had captured the eyes of every eligible bachelor. Ijeoma, however, was a girl who lived by her own rules. Her father, one of the wealthiest men in the village, had provided her with a life of luxury, one that Ijeoma wore as both a shield and a badge. And as far as she was concerned, no man in Ife was good enough for her. Ijeoma's standards were as high as the sky. "I'll only marry a man who is wealthy, charming, and above all, worthy," she'd say, casting a dismissive glance at the men of the village. "Not a single one of you fits the bill. No man is worthy of me." So, she rejected every proposal that came her way, leaving a trail of dejected hearts and broken egos. To the men of Ife, she was an unattainable queen, beautiful yet untouchable, always out of reach. One warm afternoon, Femi arrived in Ife. He was a young man from a neighboring town, and he had come to Ife for business, looking to purchase land for his family. Tall and sharp-eyed, with an easy confidence that made him hard to ignore, Femi quickly found himself fitting in with the locals, who found his friendly, adventurous nature appealing. One day, as he chatted with a group of young men by the village marketplace, his eyes caught sight of Ijeoma. She walked with a proud grace, her head held high, ignoring the stares of admiration that followed her every step. "Who is that?" Femi asked, unable to hide his curiosity. The young men exchanged amused glances, and one of them, Obi, laughed. "Haven't you heard of her? That's Ijeoma, the untouchable. She thinks no man here is worthy of her." Femi raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Is that so?" Obi grinned, shaking his head. "Yes, she's beautiful, but don't get any idea so. She's made it clear she wants a man who is rich and cultured, someone who can match her standards." Femi chuckled, watching Ijeoma disappear down the street. "A challenge, huh?" he muttered, more to himself than to his friends. Obi raised an eyebrow. "You think you can win her over?" "No man in this village has managed it, so you don't try at all." Femi shrugged, a playful glint in his eyes. "Just give me 3 months. If I make her my girlfriend by then, you owe me 20,000 naira each. Deal or no deal?" The group burst into laughter, but after a moment of skepticism, they agreed to the bet. They couldn't resist. They knew Ijeoma's reputation well and were confident that even Femi would fail. But Femi was undeterred. He accepted the bet, ready to give it his best shot. For the next few days, Femi observed Ijeoma from afar, studying her habits, her favorite places, and her likes and dislikes. He was strategic, cautious not to cross paths with her until he was fully prepared. He knew that to capture Ijeoma's attention, he'd need more than words. He needed a way to enter her life dramatically, in a way she couldn't ignore. And so, with the help of a few friends, Femi devised a plan. One evening, as Ijeoma walked home from a gathering with her friends, 3 men stepped out from the shadows and confronted her, their faces obscured. Ijeoma's heart pounded as they demanded her purse, one of them reaching out to grab her wrist. Just as fear began to take hold, a figure appeared, dashing forward to intercept her attackers. It was Femi. He wrestled with the men, putting up a convincing fight as he chased them off. Then he turned to Ijeoma, offering his hand and a reassuring smile. "Are you alright?" he asked, his voice filled with genuine concern. Ijeoma, shaken but grateful, nodded. She looked at him with wide eyes, her usual aloof expression softened by the moment. "Thank you. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't come. Thank you." Femi smiled modestly, brushing off the imaginary dust on his clothes. "I'm just glad I was here when you needed help." From that night on, Ijeoma was captivated by her mysterious rescuer. Femi played his part flawlessly. Every day, he dressed in his finest clothes and found ways to casually cross paths with Ijeoma. Sometimes, he would offer her a polite greeting. Other times, he would simply nod in acknowledgement. It wasn't long before Ijeoma herself began seeking him out, curious about the man who had saved her. Before long, they started spending more time together, talking about their interests, dreams and lives. Femi, who had carefully studied Ijeoma's taste, played the part of the wealthy, charming suitor she dreamed of. He spoke of grand adventures, his love for music and his aspirations to make something of himself, and slowly but surely, Ijeoma's aloofness faded. People in the village took notice, whispering in disbelief whenever they saw Ijeoma and Femi together. She, who had rejected countless men, was now captivated by an outsider, a man who seemed to be everything she had ever wanted. Obi and the other friends watched in silence as Femi charmed his way into Ijeoma's heart. Then finally, after about 2 months, Femi proposed a relationship. Overcome by his charm, Ijeoma accepted. Femi had won the bet. On the night Femi's friends paid him his winnings, they toasted to his success, both surprised and impressed that he had done what they believed was impossible. However, despite the bet, Femi found himself genuinely enjoying Ijeoma's company. She was proud, yes, but beneath her guarded exterior, she was intelligent, sensitive, and surprisingly kind. They shared many moments together, and over time, he grew to admire her confidence, her strength, and even her occasional arrogance, which he now saw as a sign of her determination to never settle. He tried to ignore the growing feelings in his heart, reminding himself that it had all started as a game. But as the days passed, he realized he was no longer playing. Femi was truly falling for Ijeoma. One evening, as they watched the sunset together by the river, Femi felt an overwhelming urge to confess. He wanted to tell her about the bet, to come clean before things even went further. He knew he risked losing her trust, but he couldn't keep lying to her. Every time he opened his mouth to speak, the fear of her reaction stopped him. He had grown to care for her deeply, and the thought of her leaving him was more painful than he could bear. So, he held his tongue, promising himself that he would tell her someday, once she truly knew how much he loved her. After about 3 months, Femi's feelings had deepened to the point where he couldn't imagine his life without Ijeoma. They had become inseparable, sharing ideas, secrets, dreams, and laughter. He knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her. One evening, under the starlit sky, Femi proposed. He held her hand and spoke from his heart, telling her how much she meant to him and how he wanted to build a future together. Ijeoma, her heart swelling with happiness, accepted his proposal, her eyes shining with love. They announced their engagement to the village, and people marveled at how the arrogant Ijeoma had finally found someone she deemed worthy. But there were some who were less enthusiastic about the match. Obi and the other friends who had bet against Femi. They congratulated him, but deep down, They were irritated by the unexpected success of his plan. They found it amusing at first, but as time went on, they couldn't resist stirring the pot. One afternoon, while Femi was with Obi and his friends, the conversation turned to the bet. "Femi, I still can't believe you did it." Obi laughed. "We were sure she would send you packing. But here you are, about to marry the great Ijeoma." It's hilarious. Another friend snickered. "Remember when we first saw her, and you were so confident you could win her over? And now she's head over heels for you because you planned the whole thing from the start. Hey, you are such a genius." Obi chuckled, nudging Femi. "But really, why are you still with her? The bet was only to make her your girlfriend. Now that you've won the bet, what's the point in keeping up the act?" Femi smiled at first, but it soon faded as his eyes flickered to the mango tree nearby. He tried to silence his friends, but it was too late. There, hidden but close enough to hear every word, stood Ijeoma, her expression unreadable in the shadows. Her face was pale and teary, her expression one of shock and betrayal. She took a step forward, her voice trembling as she spoke. Is this true, Femi? Was everything just a bet to you?" Femi's heart dropped, panic flooding him. Ijeoma, please let me explain." But she shook her head, hurt and fury blazing in her eyes. So you were just using me." All those sweet words, the promises, they were all lies. He reached out to her, desperate. "No, Ijeoma. It started that way, yes, but I fell in love with you. It stopped being a game a long time ago. You mean everything to me." Ijeoma took a shaky breath, stepping back. "I trusted you, Femi. I believed you were different, but I was just a prize for you to win." I was right. No man is worthy of me. Before he could say another word, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing there devastated. Days turned into weeks, and Ijeoma refused to speak to Femi. She ignored his letters, avoided him in the village, and shut herself off from everyone. She was heartbroken, humiliated, and angry with herself for letting her guard down. Femi was equally shattered, haunted by the memory of her hurt expression and her final words. He knew he had made a terrible mistake, and every day without her felt like a punishment. He spent hours near her favorite spots, hoping she'd give him a chance to explain, but she never did. He reached out to her family, her friends, anyone who might help, but no one could sway her. Femi's world felt empty without her, and he realized the depth of his love and the gravity of his mistake. But he couldn't give up. He had to win her trust back, no matter how long it took. One evening, after days of silence, he spotted her alone by the riverbank. She sat with her feet in the water, looking into the distance, lost in thought. Summoning his courage, he approached quietly, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and hope. "Ijeoma," he said gently, stopping a few feet away. She turned, her expression immediately hardening. "What do you want, Femi?" Her tone was cold, defensive, and it cut through him like a blade. "I just need you to hear me out," he began, struggling to keep his voice steady. "Please, Ijeoma, I know I've lost your trust, but I swear, I never wanted to hurt you. It was foolish of me to start this as a game, but I fell in love with you. You changed everything." Ijeoma looked away, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Do you even know how humiliated I felt? Hearing that I was just a bet, that I was nothing more than a prize to you. Femi swallowed, taking a step closer. I know, Ijeoma, I know. And I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But Ijeoma, if you give me a chance, I'll prove to you that I'm sincere. I'll prove that I love you. She met his gaze, her eyes fierce with anger and pain. Enough, Femi. I don't want to see you again. Stay away from me. With that, she turned on her heel and walked away, leaving him standing there, his heart feeling heavier than ever. Despite her rejection, Femi refused to give up. He knew she needed time, but he also knew that waiting and hoping might not be enough. He had to find a way to show her that his love was real, and that he was willing to do anything for her forgiveness. As the days passed, Ijeoma continued to avoid Femi, brushing off any attempts he made to speak with her. Every time he sent a message or tried to approach, she shut him out. Frustrated and desperate, Femi decided to try a different approach. He concocted a risky plan, one that he hoped would compel Ijeoma to at least speak to him, even if it meant going to extremes. Femi enlisted the help of one of Ijeoma's friends, Ada, whom he had befriended during the early days of his relationship with Ijeoma. He explained his plan carefully, pleading with Ada to support him, though he could see she had her doubts. She'll be angry, Ada warned. You know Ijeoma doesn't take well to deception. Femi nodded, fully aware of the risk. I know, but I'd rather her hate me openly than ignore me forever. I just need her to know how deeply I regret everything. Ada hesitated before finally agreeing, though she warned Femi that if the plan backfired, he could lose any hope of reconciliation. Later that week, Ada ran breathlessly into Ijeoma's house. Ijeoma was sitting in the parlor when Ada burst in, her face pale with worry. Ijeoma! Ijeoma! Come quickly! Your father! He's been hurt! Ijeoma's heart skipped a beat, and a cold wave of fear washed over her. She dropped everything and followed Ada out of the house without question, her mind racing with worry. Her father had always been a strong, healthy man, but she couldn't shake the dread building inside her. Ada led her down a familiar path, one that twisted through the village outskirts. The closer they got, the more confused Ijeoma felt. Why would her father be here? Her anxiety began to morph into suspicion, her eyes narrowing as they approached a small clearing. And then, there he was, Femi, standing by the edge of the clearing, waiting for her. Ijeoma's face darkened with realization. She turned to Ada, her tone icy. So, this was a trick, huh? Ada stepped back, embarrassed. He begged me, Ijeoma, please, just hear him out. Of course he did. Ijeoma sneered, her voice sharp with bitterness. Tricks and lies, that's what he's best at. She turned to leave, furious and hurt all over again, but Femi rushed forward, blocking her path. Ijeoma, wait, please, just listen to me, he pleaded, his face filled with desperation. She glared at him, her arms folded. Why should I? Haven't I had enough of your lies? Femi's shoulders sagged, his eyes searching her face for any hint of forgiveness. Because I love you, Ijeoma, and I'm not leaving until you know how much you mean to me. Ijeoma shook her head, laughing bitterly. Love. You don't know the first thing about love. If you did, you wouldn't have made me into a joke, a bet. Femi took a deep breath, his voice breaking with emotion. You are right. I hurt you, and I don't deserve your forgiveness. But please, just give me a chance to make it right. I'll do anything to show you that I'm sincere. She looked away, her resolve softening despite herself. She had loved him deeply once, and even though she was angry, a part of her longed to believe that his feelings were real. Seeing her hesitation, Femi continued, I've been a fool, Ijeoma. I let my pride and arrogance cloud my judgment. But meeting you, loving you changed me. You taught me what it means to be a truly humble person, and I know that no other woman could ever take your place in my heart. Ijeoma's eyes filled with tears, her voice barely a whisper. How do I know this isn't just another game to you? Femi knelt before her, his face filled with sincerity. I swear on everything I hold dear that this is real. I love you, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving it if you let me. The silence stretched between them, heavy and tense. Ijeoma searched his face, looking for any trace of deceit, but all she saw was a man desperate for forgiveness. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she took a deep, shaky breath. This is your last chance, Femi. If you hurt me again, there will be no coming back. Relief flooded his face as he stood, his eyes brimming with gratitude. Thank you, Ijeoma. I won't let you down, I promise. The days that followed were filled with cautious hope. Femi made it his mission to show Ijeoma that he had truly changed. He helped around her family's home, spent time with her relatives, and even joined in on the village chores she once scoffed at. He was humble, genuine, and attentive, always finding ways to bring a smile to her face. At first, Ijeoma remained guarded, her trust still fragile. But as time passed, she began to see the sincerity in his actions. He was no longer the man who had arrogantly pursued her as a prize to be won. This Femi was humble, caring, and genuinely committed to earning her forgiveness. Their bond slowly rekindled, built on the foundation of honesty and mutual respect. Ijeoma allowed herself to fall in love with him once more, this time knowing that his love was real and unwavering. As Ijeoma and Femi's relationship blossomed once again, the villagers began to see the change in both of them. Femi was no longer seen as the boastful outsider, but rather as a devoted man who had earned his place in their community. The village elders, impressed by his transformation, gave their blessing for his union with Ijeoma, and preparations for the wedding resumed with renewed joy. On the day of their wedding, as they stood together, exchanging vows under the shade of the ancient baobab tree, Ijeoma looked into Femi's eyes, feeling a sense of peace and happiness she had never known. She had found love, not in riches or appearances, but in the honesty and humility of a man who had fought to earn her trust. Femi and Ijeoma's story became a lesson for the village, a reminder that love built on deceit is bound to falter, but love that is redeemed through sincerity and humility can withstand even the deepest wounds. Love built on deceit is destined to crumble, but love that is redeemed by truth and forgiveness can grow even stronger. In matters of the heart, sincerity and trust are worth far more than pride or games. Again, true love is not about conquest or pride, but about respect, honesty, and the willingness to grow. When love is genuine, it humbles us, changes us, and teaches us that trust and forgiveness are the foundation of any meaningful relationship. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, Share and subscribe to the channel. God richly bless you. Catch you in the next video.